Yeah, guys, thank you for having me on. Matt Wilkinson, President CEO of All Capital Bank. We are just over 3 years in since purchased the Bank of Locust Grove. We did rebrand that, and we have two locations. Our headquarters are still in Locust Grove, which is about 45 minutes directly east of Tulsa, kind of equidistance between Tulsa and Bentonville. And so we sit in a great place in northeastern Oklahoma. And then our other location is in the Tulsa metropolitan area. Technically, we're in Broken Arrow, but we're a little over 3 years in. It's We've had significant growth over that period of time. At acquisition, we were approximately 45 million in assets. We ended the year at 160 million there. And so, and at the same time, just from a bank, just so many great changes. And really that old adage of we were building the plane while we were flying it. Treasury products, that wasn't something that they had before. Really, there wasn't a lot of commercial lending that was being done, and so with that, there wasn't the institutional knowledge around that. And so we've been very fortunate, and we've kept a lot of the core people who've been part of the community and part of the bank for a long time, and provided them, an opportunity to see banking in a different way, and to ride along on that adventure. And then we've been fortunate that we've been able to attract some key people that have contributed in significant ways, to that growth. And then what's been fun for me, I'm an old commercial lender, managing of commercial lending teams, and production and all those things. And so I'm having to learn about operations, and how to learn about how do we get deposits, right? And how do we how do we do those things? And so it's just been a lot of fun. It's been a great journey. We have a great board, a great team here. And one of the things, because we are going to talk fintech, and that we continue to look at is the community banks are, you've got to come ready to play, because whether it's the digital banking platforms on a large scale, whether it's the large national money centers, they're coming after our clients. And so we continue to look at ways to deepen those relationships within our community. But then we want to look to how do we expand our community, and how do we expand that beyond our geographic area, and bring the community banking feel to more people, because anyone that's ever experienced it and actually been able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody that can make a decision. I mean, it's that's what they want, right? And then it's getting that message out there that a community bank like us, we can do that, and we can do that at scale, we can do that at size, and we can expand who our community is. And so, yeah, so it's been an exciting 3 years, and more excited about the upcoming three, and see what additional changes will take place.
So Tanner, you're gonna love this. Davey and I have this is mainly Dave, right? He's been talking about getting a Super Bowl commercial. And so I'm hanging out at an event, and all of a sudden Matt walks up to me and says, "Hey, I got this great idea. Why are we not doing a Super Bowl commercial?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, you got to meet Dave, number one. And number two, I'm all in." So if you're listening and you're a banker, like Matt and I got the idea, we're ready. We're going to do this. Davey wants a Super Bowl commercial. So we're going to do this, Matt. Damn it.
We're,
One of
we're
these
gonna
days,
do
we're going to do this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I had Matthew, I had a little bit of twist on it too. I mean, I love the idea of a Super Bowl commercial, but I think a way to do that is to illustrate all these community banks that sponsor the high school football team, the high school
Absolutely.
baseball, the high school basketball. Hey, our name's on a stadium too, and it's where your kids and grandkids play, and it's where your money gets reinvested, and just providing. And so, to me, that's the great Super Bowl commercial. If we could highlight a number of community banks that are pouring back in and showing their names on the scoreboard and supporting their communities, I think that'd be great. So we've got to figure out a way to make that happen. It'd be
Tanner,
awesome.
with me being an old Happy State banker, we had every Texas Panhandle scoreboard, basketball, football, baseball. When Matt
Yeah.
said these words, I'm like, dude, I don't know what I got to do, but I mean, I might go bankrupt trying to fund this commercial, but we're going to do it.
I
That
I
would be,
love
it'd
it,
be
man.
neat.
When you said our name is on a stadium too, it just grabs me because I mean, I don't care about the NFL stadium or anything else as much as I care about my kid is 2.5, Matt, and she plays on this like little baby soccer team, right? And it's
Yeah,
like that's the stadium I'm concerned
yeah,
with. You are dead right, man. And you talk
yeah,
about a simple way to bring that full circle for people. I love it.
yeah. Now, I think that's one of those things that your 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 everyday person sitting in an office somewhere, and let's say it's a team of 50, it's a team of 100, it's a team of 10, they don't realize that company got their start from a community bank because very seldom, I mean, nominal at best, does that company get their start walking into a money center bank. They get their start by that bank in the community that takes the risk and evaluates the risk, takes the risk, partners with the founder and the vision that they have, and puts them in business. And so the more that we can do to tell that story of that person that doesn't, I mean, the entrepreneur understands it, but beyond that entrepreneur, the person that is employed by the entrepreneur, of painting that picture, of making that connection of, yes, hey, keep your bank with your community bank because they're given to the food bank. They're given to your high school. They're buying ice cream cones for the T-ball team, which is something that we do, which is fun. And then for us, hey, how do we take that feel? How do we take that approach? And how do we expand, our community? And one of the communities that we lend in a lot and do business in is the aviation space. And so that's a community for us beyond our borders, if you will, from where we are in northeastern Oklahoma. And so we're always thinking through, all right, how do we expand that and not just bring additional products and services, but bringing that personal touch, to that in that business arena.
Yeah.
Matt, one
Matt
thing,
and Matt. I have a
yeah,
question for both Matts.
you're in trouble.
So,
Yeah,
I just look, I think we've talked for a long, long time, and there's so many different ways to do this, but we'll just call it a niche, right? Whether that's a niche customer base or commercial base, whether that is sponsoring crazy fintechs, I mean, everything under the sun, building direct brands. I mean, there's so many different ways. But I think what you started this conversation with is perfect of focusing on being the most traditional community bank as possible. Granted, maybe we need a little work on the marketing and the messaging and getting that people to understand that theme, right?
yeah,
But I
yeah,
think to your point, if people better understood and we work that problem, I think it's absolutely the right mix. But we need something else, right? A
yeah.
niche of some sort of focus. We just talk about that. It's one that Matthew and I believe strongly in, and Matt, maybe after if you give your thoughts, I think the niche is something that is recognizable, but maybe hard to find for a lot of folks.
And from a niche standpoint, I mean, we look very much like your traditional commercial bank. Our niche is aviation lending, and that's where and so that is something that separates us. And it's something that I personally have a history of lending, and doing banking in that space. And then it's also something the bank when we purchased it had a history. So it was a merger, and probably maybe only the only merger of some things that previous management and new management had in place. And so you know I do think it's important, um, for an institution to find that niche, where they have some acumen, maybe beyond where the market is, because then it provides them some competitive advantages that naturally gives them the ability to grow their defined community outside of geography. Um, and we've seen some here in Oklahoma, as regulations have changed related to cannabis, have created a niche there. Um, and obviously you've seen some operate as sponsor banks and then continue to grow that out, and that being their niche. But for us today, that is in the aviation space, and then we're also looking at additional channels, outside of that as well.
Man, I got to give you a lot of credit because the first time I met you, you were already headed down this path of the niche banking, right? You're figuring it out. You're having those conversations, and I think Tanner's right. This is what we're seeing a lot of community banks come in is You do a really good job at the white glove service, right? It is that relationship, and you take really good care of your customers. You make sure they get the best service possible. Technology, will figure those things out. The people will figure those things out. But white glove service isn't something that we see, I think, in our world very often. And
Correct.
so I think if you can go out and you find that right niche and you provide that white glove service, I think as a society, we're missing that so much. You're
Yeah.
going to succeed in ways that will just be beyond. And I think you're definitely driving that home. And I got to give you a lot of credit. So I always love sharing a little bit of your story because I love the culture that you're bringing to the bank, how fast you're growing it in a safe and sound manner. And then also you're kicking those tires going, like, how do I do this to continue giving back to my local community? And I think that's
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And it's funny, you mentioned culture, you mentioned white glove service. Um, what we talk about here culturally all the time is really we start with how we treat each other as team members. And I even say that I want to make sure my goal is that we treat each other so well, I don't have to worry about how we're treating our clients because the level that we treat each other and the grace that we show and that we always assume the best and that we want to go above and beyond for each other and we want to stack hands and we want to be mission focused and that mission is and another example I use is we throw pebbles in a lake and we don't know how a client or we don't know how a team member shows up that day and what they're carrying but we have the ability the opportunity to have an impact on them and I also say impacts aren't neutral. If it's neutral, it's bad. And so we want to have that positive impact because we don't know if it's someone walking up to the teller line, right? We don't know what's their next visit, what's their next stop. And if we can provide them an experience that brightens their day, that is positive, that pours into them a little bit, then how does that impact their next conversation? And maybe that next conversation is with maybe it's another business down the street, but maybe it's a grandkid, maybe it's a kid. And again, we throw that pebble and we just have to trust that those ripples that we don't even get to see will have an impact, in lives and in communities. Because really, you know, a saying that I heard a long time ago by a gentleman that's very wise is, and he had gone through a significant economic event, a very large M&A, and he said, "Hey, it's how we do it matters, but really it's stacking chairs on the Titanic." And at the end of the day, it's stacking chairs on the Titanic, but the impact that we get to make on people's lives daily is what I would say is eternal. And so that's what we get excited about. And then when you do look at digital banking, fintech, and all those things, yeah, everybody wants to see and have access to some certain technology that's easy for them to use, that's impactful. But but when they want to be able to talk to somebody. And we don't have a phone tree. You don't call All Capital Bank and get a phone tree and press one, press two, or whatever. Someone's picking it up. And you're going to be able to talk to somebody. Someone's going to call you back in the afternoon, maybe even say, "Hey, we don't have an update, but just wanted to let you know we're still working on it." And that's where we're striving to blend that. Hey, we're going to have the technology. We have the technology. We can provide those pieces that everybody wants, and we're looking to grow that. But at the same time, there's someone that's going to answer the phone, and they work for All Capital Bank. They're not outsourced. They're here, and there's not a phone tree.
I
So.
love that. I mean, I absolutely love that. I think you touched on a lot there that was really good and important. And just looking at, the world as it sits today and the shift that we're seeing, I'm actually really positive, guys. Feel really, really good on some of the fintech, I don't know, let's just say service and backlash. Like how much have we all heard in the last, I mean, this, we might have all been saying this for a few years, but in the last year or so, it's that it's my money and I can't get to it and I can't get
Yeah.
anybody on the phone, right? And so
Yeah.
I think kind of coming full circle to our point here and everything Matt's talking about, we're starting to see the people really value service and relationship, right? And
Yeah.
especially local. I mean, I don't know. I have more hope for local community banks and frankly the physical than I have in years. At the same time, with what Matt's saying, I think we've got wicked capabilities to get outside of that geography with technology and still bring that level of service. So I love everything you're saying, man. It's been a cool reminder for me and a lot of what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think it's going to be significantly easier for community banks who know how to do service, who know how to walk down Main Street and shake hands with their clients, who are used to going to the manufacturing facility and taking a tour and understanding someone's business as almost as well as management does, right? It's going to be easier for them to take that approach and to grow their geography with technology than for someone to take, hey, we have all the technology in the world, but we really don't want to talk to anyone. We just want them to use the technology, right? Um, and so I think there's a great opportunity for community banks to win because at the end of the day, what people care most about is how they're treated. And yes, do you have the technology for me to use? And so the lens that we look through, from a board standpoint, from a management standpoint, is we want technology to enhance the relationship and the experience that our client has. We don't want to replace it. We want it to enhance it. And so that's our approach.
I think too, so much of the let's just say the importance of money and daily and everything that we do. I mean, other than diesel being expensive right now, I don't think we all recognize how expensive things are. It's not a big deal, but when I'm calling my local bank, it's a life event that's important, right? It's
Yeah.
buying a home, and I mean, what you have in your head is thinking about kids and grandkids at that home, right? Or swimming in
Right.
that pool or whatever, right? Same thing with a business. You're thinking about friends and employees and their families and whatever's going forward there. I mean, these are big life events for people. If I'm picking up the phone to call you guys, it's important to me. So I think answering
Yeah.
that phone, I can't overstate how important I think that is. I doubt you get all that many calls to check a balance these days.
You know what? You would be surprised in Locust Grove. It's a town of 1,500, and we get lots of calls to check a balance, and we're happy. We're happy to take them. Any opportunity that we have to interact with clients, we're going to take it.
Good
And
call.
I love it.
a lot of times it's to say that, yeah, there's $1,200 there, just
Yeah.
just like there was when the check came in the month before. But
Uh-huh.
uh, but we'll take that opportunity to interact because hey, we're relational at heart. We all are. It's how we are designed, and so we love to embrace and take hold of those opportunities.
Well said.
Matt, if you take a crystal ball, shake it up, what's the next 3 years look like for you in all capital?
Oh, great question.
Glad the
Um,
board didn't ask me that, right?
hey, the board has asked, right? No, um, and hey, and one thing because we are going to have community bankers, listening to this. I am so fortunate here. Our team is so fortunate here. We have a great board. They come from a diverse background, um, but I mean we have a gentleman on our board who has spun up 4 or 5 AI related companies, and and so has a lot of knowledge around that. We have a board member who's in the e-commerce, and so they're e-commerce and catalog business, and so you see them trying to figure out ways again digitally, even though they're selling the core. Of trying to make that connection, with their clients. Our chairman, Luke, grew a company. Oh, I'm going to forget the numbers, maybe from 15 employees to 300 plus, maybe 500. I forget the exact numbers and did it in a pretty, small time frame. And so the technology that went into that growth, how to build culture as you grow that quickly. So that knowledge we have there. And then we haven't, I would be remiss if I didn't mention John, our other board member, who's our sage. He's in our 70s. He's our wise that just every once in a while will, hey, let's make sure we think about this. Hey, remember we are a community bank, and I'll tell you one thing that he says, is you can drive through a small town and you can tell the quality of that local bank by what that town looks like. And so that's always that reminder of our roots, and who we are. So well, I did want to mention that because having a supportive and challenging board is essential. Um, and that is something that we absolutely have. Um, anyway, yeah, as far as 3 years, we're exploring two digital platforms today that are going to look that appear, digital branches that we're excited about that, going to be, they're both going to start, a little bit differently. One's going to be a little bit more, lending centric. The other is going to be more of a deposit driver. And so, if I were to model out, 3 years from now, I would think we would do, two or three, additional, maybe additional things. The nice thing for us, and I think Matthew, you might have mentioned this as we're exploring, a digital branch, is, hey, that is just exploring that. And let's say it's not, let's say it doesn't model out the way that we hoped it to, but there's going to be what I call cerebral equity, learning something, related that we're going to be able to build upon. And so what that looks like in 3 years, I mean, I think there are going to be a couple other opportunities that exist. And when we look at the speed of technology and how quickly it's moving, I think we probably have as much innovation now in 12 hours that 200 years ago they had in 100 years, right? It's just remarkable. So we want to make sure that we're flexible. We want to make sure that we're connected to people, because the opportunity we're connected to people who are in the space, who are looking at it from multiple angles, because this could all look different in 2 years. It could all look different in 3 years. And so so building some scaffolding, building some institutional knowledge, um, and then being ready for where it might go. I think is incredibly, important because, whether it's stablecoin, whether it's crypto, I mean, just, tokenized deposit. I mean, all these things that are out there, and then what the impact might have on the community bank, right? And so, you've got to be highly engaged with all that, and then, um, um, you got to. I think there's a little bit of a where you got to be careful. Hey, I'm not going to go all into this because going all into that might change, but taking a strategic, balanced approach and being able to move and then take advantage of opportunities as they come. That's kind of how I see that.
Love it. Well said. Tanner, I don't know. I think I might have a new panelist for the roundup next year.
I love it.
Great.
I wanted to tell you too, man. I've talked to numerous people that have just mentioned your name and having a cool conversation with you, and I think as you mentioned, community and trying to be a good steward of the people around you, and whether that's people you work with or customers or all of it, it just speaks really highly of you that regardless of what's going on, people around you you're on their mind and they think highly of you. So that was a hell of a compliment. I wanted to make sure I passed it on.
No, I appreciate that. I fooled somebody. So,
I love it. Good
hey,
salesman, right?
hey,
No doubt about it.
yeah, we also, I want to mention this. Last summer, we went through a conversion. We moved to DCI, for those that are looking at, core and all that. And they have been as advertised and responsive and, um, like us, they answer the phone, and even if it's not maybe the answer I want to hear right then, it's the phone gets picked up, and so they've been a great partner for us, to this point, and as we're exploring these opportunities, from a digital banking standpoint, I mean, they're stacking hands with us, in order to do everything they can, to make sure, that we can get there, and so I would be remiss if I didn't mention that.
That is so well said, and I think a heck of a compliment to them as well. So appreciate it, man. Any final thoughts for us?
No, not at all. I appreciate you guys having me. This is great. Um, I did need to, it was important that we did this. I think because now I'm tied with my wife for podcast. She's
All
been on
right.
a couple, and we gotta. So we need to fire up another one because I need to take the lead. I need to
I
be
understand.
the leader at home in the number of podcasts. So,
Hey, we
um,
can support you, man. I got your back. I love
all right,
it. Thank you so much, man. I just always enjoy time with you, and we appreciate the hell out of you.
guys, I appreciate it. Yeah, we'll talk
Thanks,
soon.
Matt.
See you guys.
Okay, all right, bye.